Come on, refresh. Oh, hi. Sorry. No, I'm not refreshing the election results. I could really care less about that. I'm just trying to see if Alex Avon does keep his seat for next year, because if I don't, the YouTube comments on that video are just gonna get a whole lot worse than they already are. So, if you don't mind. So, welcome back to the statue of Liberty Media, where racing is free for all, until we choose to race in countries that have lots of human rights issues. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well wherever you are in the world. And this week, I'm going to be doing a video based on a tweet. I know, shocking. But a while back, I tweeted on Twitter, obviously, that I wanted to make a video about F1 broadcasting. I myself am a student of broadcasting. I've been studying it for the past couple years at post-secondary, and I feel like I have some sort of opinion on what makes a sports broadcast good and a sports broadcast bad. And I think, in my opinion, F1 broadcasts are some of the best sports broadcasts on the planet. And here's why. And just really quick, I am not going to be getting into the woeful, horrible, stinky pile of mess that AWS Insights are. You can get that from plenty of other videos that I'll put up here and link in the description down below. I do not want to get into that. There's a whole separate video on its own. We are strictly looking at the broadcast production quality of Formula One, not AWS, because we can all agree those are bad. So just quickly touching on my own experience in the broadcast industry, I have been doing live productions for the past couple years with a local cable network here in Ontario. I've been broadcasting hockey games, basketball games for the college and stuff like that. And yes, they are low-level, low-end productions, but it just helps to give some perspective on how much work goes into a live broadcast and the amount of storylines and the amount of things going on in F1. It is such a rich sport in terms of storylines that I don't know how every single week they turn up and just give such a good show, and it's genuinely impressive how good of a job they do. So the first thing I want to touch on is the camera work. Now, when I'm watching these broadcasts, as someone who knows so much about what goes into it, I'm kind of figuring out the techniques that they're using and how they're getting certain shots done and stuff like that. And I've noticed they have a camera angle for each segment of the corner. They have one for the entry, the apex, the exit, and sometimes in the curbs, which is just insane. But one thing I've noticed is, and you guys take a look for it over the next race, you never see another cameraman in the shot. Like you see the entrance, you see the apex, you see the exit, but not once do you ever see another camera. That, you guys don't understand how difficult that is to get done. It is extremely impressive, and the fact that they're able to accomplish this on every single corner of every single track, and every single track is different, is just mind-blowing. And we've all seen that video of the camera op for F1, I think it was at Spa, following the car go past. It's not an easy thing to do, because even just keeping a steady shot from something far away is an extremely difficult thing to do, and it takes a lot of talent just for a static shot of something that's far away. But these guys are following cars going 300 kilometers an hour and having to whip it across, keep it in focus, and keep it in frame. Like, what? And as much as we get mad at the TV director for not showing Carlos Sainz enough, we have to appreciate how seamless every single cut feels. Every single time it cuts to another camera, it's the camera you want to see for that battle. You see cars coming into a corner, battling it out, going side by side into the apex. What's the next shot you see? Boom, head on, down the straight, looking right directly down the barrel, directly at the cars as they're coming out of the corner. That is exactly what the viewer wants to see. They know exactly what we want to see when we want to see it. And it's not always perfect. Obviously, there's always slip-ups and mistakes that happen. But 9 times out of 10, the next shot you see for a particular battle is the shot that you want. And it is impressive. Another thing I've noticed ever since Liberty took over in 2018, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we get these extremely dynamic camera shots. As I alluded to earlier in the video, they have cameras in the curbs of the track, so you can watch the cars go by from like a mouse's perspective, which is absolutely insane. I noticed at the last race they had this cable going across the main straight on the pit wall, and a camera on that cable being able to pan and follow the cars as they go down the track. That is absolutely unreal, and you add that in with the helicopter shots, being able to perfectly frame the cars as they're going around the track and following and having to man the helicopter and then track and follow the cars as they're going around the circuit. I believe there was a video I watched a while back of them kind of breaking down how they get these very elaborate helicopter shots. I will be sure to link that in the card and in the description, because if you have any interest in any of this, you need to watch that video, because my jaw was on the floor when I was watching it, just how much goes into getting those shots. Now, all of these extremely dynamic and elaborate shots are cool, but they're not at all necessary if you really think about it. Take a soccer or a football game, for example. You could just plop a camera down, record the game, and go home, have no other shots, no other movement, just all people are there for is to watch the game. But you keep people watching your screen because of dynamic camera movements. You see at a football match, you see, when the guy's throwing the ball in, you have the handheld up, getting the shot of him throwing the ball in. You get the corner shot of them doing the corner kick. You do not keep people on your screens by just setting up shop and going home. And that's what F1 is doing. They're bringing in these dynamic, elaborate shots to keep you watching, because that's how they make money, is having you watch the TV, and man, they do a very good job at it. Again, I know we all hate AWS for the exact same reasons, but just in terms of the actual design of the graphics on the screen, I have to say it is very impressive. The new tower for the driver positions looks just very good. I love the font that they've picked, and all the graphics as they pop up look very modern. And for someone like me who appreciates that kind of thing, I like when something looks modern and nice and clean, because it's also going to keep my eyeballs on my television screen and watching the sport. If they had ugly looking graphics, I would be far less into watching F1, because it's just not aesthetically pleasing. But all the graphics they have are extremely impressive, and that leads me into my next point, which is my favorite part of F1 broadcasts. The number one thing that I have to thank Liberty Media for is doing something with the Halo. I know when the Halo was introduced back in 2018, it was met with a lot of scrutiny because of its overall looks. To be honest, for me, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I've gotten used to it. I kind of prefer the cars now with them. I think it's just the future. As long as it keeps the drivers safe, I'm happy. But when they started putting that hologram on the Halo, on the onboard shots, where you could see the gears, the RPMs, the speed, the position, it looks like a freaking video game. Codemasters, take notes for F1 2021 when we get the PS5. Do this. Do what F1 has done with the Halo graphics. It is just the most genius thing I've ever seen, and every time it pops up, it is just bananas. The other thing I've really liked what they've done this year too is they've taken that middle section of the Halo graphic and they'll change it out with things. They have the rear view camera. If a driver is in a battle, you see the onboard, you can see behind the driver as well to see who's attacking and how close they are. You can see the G-forces as they go through the corners, and that is just information that makes someone watch. You see that and it just engages you in the content, because obviously you're not in the seat of an F1 car. You don't know what it feels like, but if you're able to see, oh, these lateral G-forces are pulling them 3 Gs to the right, it kind of puts you more into the perspective of the driver and what they're going through to get through that corner. It is just money when it comes to content. F1, I can't stop singing your praises right now. It just makes me very happy inside, if you can't tell. The other big thing we got from Liberty Media with the F1 takeover was the new theme song composed by Brian Tyler, who is traditionally a movie score composer and a very good one at that. So he knows how to bring emotion into a song. And I think we can all agree that that song, it just hits different. It hits so well. I personally have it on my playlist. It'll come on in the car and I'll just jam out to it. And I know Moto Meerkat did a video on the F1 intros over the years. I'll link that in the card as well because it was a very good video. But man, that song, when it comes on and the race is about to start, it builds up that intensity, it builds up that emotion. And that's something that F1 was lacking a bit. And I think that song just... everything about F1 broadcasts are just money. And yes, Liberty Media is technically an American media organization, and it's become a very Americanized sport, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just look at the NFL, for example. That is a very obviously Americanized sport, and it has some of the highest viewership in the world when it comes to sports. Globally, that league brings in so much viewership because they know how to tell a story and they know how to use dynamic camera movements to keep a viewer attached to the screen. And through all of this Americanization of the sport, F1 is playing a very dangerous game with losing the group of supporters it's had for the last 70 years. But one thing I appreciate about Liberty Media is they have respected the past and the history of Formula One. Even just looking at the intro title sequence, you see a bunch of famous wins and drivers and teams from F1's past, and that's keeping those people who have been longtime viewers of the sport locked in, while they're also able to expand to a wider audience by making the sport just a little bit more accessible for the average viewer. And I really do think F1 is playing its cards right by trying to cross those barriers and get into those markets that they weren't in before under Bernie Ecclestone, because that version of Formula One just wasn't cutting it when it came to expanding viewership. And Liberty Media has done a fantastic job at breaching those markets and getting those eyeballs onto the screen. The only thing they need to do now is just don't go to countries that have poor human rights laws. I know the money's there, but give us races anywhere else, please. So there it is, another one done, dusted, in the books for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. I thoroughly enjoyed making this one for you this week. This is something I'm so passionate about, and I've wanted to make a video for a long time. So I really hope you guys did enjoy it. Feel free to lick the stamp, send that subscribe button down below, drop a like if you really liked it, and don't miss the apex. Peace.